Hey everybody, welcome to Ref Time, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. Welcome to RTS.
Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us, Wayne Kelly.
Absolutely.
Wayne Kelly Jr.
Junior, yes, sir. Yes,
Wayne Kelly Sr. wants us to differentiate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, Wayne Kelly II, Junior, Lil Wayne. I heard it all my life, so it's just part of who I am, and his identity speaks for itself. So
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Wow, because I remember I've called your phone a couple of times, or so I thought, and I had both numbers in there, and I called up, hey, Wayne, this is Crane. Crane, this is Wayne Sr. You want my son. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. No problem. It happens all the time.
All the time. That's the joy of being named after your dad, but that's what comes with it. So, people still do that. You want the first, you won't be the last.
So you got to be careful, because if stuff happens in his or your name that you did, and it's you got to be careful.
Absolutely. I tell him he got to be careful too.
Oh, listen to him. He's got to be careful. Right. I'm gonna let Dad watch this. He's got to be careful.
We're gonna make sure we send him a special
the only big
copy.
Dog now.
Oh, listen to it.
Uh-oh.
All right, Mr. Wayne Kelly. So you have obviously you're an official.
Yes, sir.
And you've been an official since when?
I first got my official's license. Well, it's two parts. We'll get into that, I guess. But this time, consecutively, I've been since January 2020.
Okay.
So it's been a good 3 years now.
Okay. And what sports do you officiate?
I officiate basketball primarily, but I just got into wanting to do football and possibly track and field. So those were all three sports that I played and have a background in. But to me, basketball, nothing beats it for me.
So you played football in college?
Yes, I did.
But you played all three in high school?
All three in high school, yes,
okay.
I did. At Concordia.
At Concordia. So I always ask this question. Everybody's phones are going off.
Amber alert.
Uh-oh.
Yours going off too? All of our three phones going off?
I got
mine just goes on vibrate,
going on.
So he doesn't know how to turn his phone on to vibrate, people. Sorry.
Oh, they heard yours too?
No, mine's on vibrate.
You got to teach them. Oh, you got to,
It's a work in progress.
We heard all three phones, didn't we? Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So you played all three in high school, but I always ask this question, and I'll get different answers. And your dad would probably give me even different answer. Which one was your best sport? And which one was your favorite sport?
Best.
Well, favorite, he already said, was basketball. So
yeah, that's to watch and to officiate. So I interact with them in different ways. But favorite in high school, I would probably say track, just because of the team camaraderie, and the people who were on the team and the memories that we made. But best was football, though. Okay. I had a love for basketball because that's what I grew up, playing. That was my first sport I ever played. But I was better. I just had more of a knack in football.
So you were best in football,
right? But
you love the team camaraderie of track and field,
correct?
But you love basketball.
I do love basketball at every level. And as far as Concordia goes, like Concordia basketball has never been a more disciplined program I've been a part of than them. Like even from college on down, Concordia basketball is ran like the military kind of, or it used to be. You probably remember Coach Holmes. Older coaches like him, Tim Rankin.
Yep.
Tim Rankin.
Yeah, Rankin.
Now, I'm gonna tell you, Tim. I remember saying to Tim one time that he was one of my favorite coaches that I've ever reffed, and he looked at me and says, "Well, thank." I said, "No, Tim, I mean that." He goes, "Thank you," because, and I never thought about why, but what you're saying makes sense now. It's because he ran it, and the players were so respectful, and you guys were. You were young men. It's not like it was a ragtag team of ball players. He was teaching you guys to be young men, to participate in the game in a respectful way and an honorable way. It was just a pleasure to ref his teams.
Definitely, and he, they stress character, and that's why I commend coaches who still do that, follow that format, because those type of things stay with you. You know what I mean? I remember Coach Rankin, all the stuff that he taught us. I run into my old teammates. We still talk about Rankin. The practices he made us do, because I was a player when he came from being a varsity coach down to freshman, and then he made that kind of he stepped down a little bit, gave Coach Agel his job, Josh Agel, and then he came down to our freshman team, but he still ran it like a varsity program, you know, and that type of stuff stayed with me. And then into being an official, I remember that, and then the way that, you know, players interact with referees and stuff like that, you can kind of tell what kind of mold their coaches gave them a little bit. Yeah,
we gotta ask Tim to come on. That'd be good to have him on the
absolutely.
show. Is he still in Fort Wayne?
Yes, he is. Yep.
Is he still teaching?
As far as I know his wife just retired, but
he was teaching at Concordia.
Yes, he was. Yep, he was.
No, he's not coaching anymore, though.
No,
I don't think he is.
He stopped coaching.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I asked him one time why he stopped coaching, and he says, "Well, you know, I just wanted to give the other coach a chance."
Man,
and I said, "Tim, I missed you, man. I missed the way you coach." He goes, "Yeah," and I said, "You miss it?" And he goes, "I'm not going there." But he had stepped down, like you said, to do it at a lower level.
He should coach forever, man. That's
honestly,
and even not because we just now talking about him, but he's probably my favorite coach I ever had at any level.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite coaches.
Because he was fair, he was straight to the point, he was strict, he was no nonsense.
Right.
But we loved him, though.
Because he loved the game. I remember him and I used to play against each other. Now, he was a guard and I was a forward, and I tried to hit him every time I could. Because that's the kind of player I was. You come through the middle, I got to hit you.
Absolutely.
But one of the things I respected about him as a player is because he could take the contact. He would take it and go free throw line to his free throws. I'm like, dang, I didn't get in his head hard enough. I got to hit him harder next time. And it still wouldn't work.
Yeah, he's stone cold, man. He's a cold dude.
Well, you know, that's one of the things that we talk about even in raising children, that kids need is structure and discipline.
Yep.
And that even though it may seem as an adult like, oh, I don't want to punish him because it makes me feel bad, but the reality is that kids need that structure. They need that discipline. And they may cry for a minute, but they respect it later. Just like you're saying, you know, you respect that fact that he was hard on you guys, that he was disciplined, but he was fair and he was honest.
Absolutely.
So,
you know, absolutely.
You guys knew he cared about you.
That's
you
the
knew
thing
he cared
right
about
there.
Your development.
He did. He did. You know, we used to hate him at the time in practice. He make us run so much. We're like, oh, we can't stand him.
Right.
But then you look back on him, like he taught us a lot of good lessons. Like, you know, being on time. You know, being pay attention to details. You know, you missed the line, everybody running. You know, you didn't care who did it. You know, he say something one time, you don't follow it, he'll kick you out of practice. Come back tomorrow. He'll tell you to go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get him on. That'd be interesting. I didn't think
really
about inviting him on as a guest. We got to get Tim Ranking on. Well, I don't have anything to write with, but we'll remember it. But Tim Ranking, we're coming for you.
All right. So what do you do currently, Wayne, as your profession? Because obviously not everybody does officiating at a full-time level. So
So I work in the nonprofit sector. So I work at United Way. I've only been there about coming up on 6 months.
Yeah, because I thought the last place you were was at Wayne Township.
Actually, Fort Wayne Housing. So I worked at Wayne Township for 2 years.
Okay.
And then I was roughly a year at Fort Wayne Housing, and then about 6 months at United Way. So I've been in the nonprofit sector for the last 3-4 years.
Have you done the same thing at all three nonprofits?
Oh, no. The two that were most like each other was Wayne Township and Fort Wayne Housing, though. So I was working with people, working with them to try to, like, get their bills current or to get them in a better financial situation.
So were you considered at Township an investigator?
Yeah, investigator, case manager, however you put it. Right now, I work as a campaign manager, though, for United Way. So I go into companies and I pretty much tell them the mission of United Way, and then we try to get workplace donations from all their employees, you know, either annually or semi-annually, and then we try to put that money in a pot and go toward like community programs. So.
And you do that for who right now?
United Way.
United Way. Where did they move their offices out to the west side of Fort Wayne, or are they still downtown?
Actually, right behind us downtown in that Heller Homes building, big tall building, right back here.
Okay.
So you just had to walk over here then, huh?
Right. Just a block away. Yeah.
Nice.
So are your hours flexible there, or?
Yeah, pretty flexible. Yep. It's all about, you know, it's a lot of projects that we do. We have different campaign seasons. So right now it's the education season because
School's
starting back. So
And you've been there a year, you say?
no, about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
So you're enjoying that, sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Well,
It's
he
definitely
needs to say that anyway.
right. It's definitely different. You know, it's something I never done before, but it's like it's eye opening for sure. It's eye opening work.
All right. So what got you into officiating? What made you decide to become an official?
Really the love that I have for the game started. You know, I start by that. This man right here. He was the first person to ever tell me that I should try officiating, become an official. I used to hate refs, so I never wanted to be one.
Yes.
Most players do.
Yes, the way he used to talk to me,
Yeah.
I was like, you want to finish this game, young man?
I was like, I don't want to be a ref, you know. But then he talked me into it, and I started reffing.
I think the first place we talked was downtown Y, wasn't it?
It was. I was just
Wow.
finishing the workout,
And I remember he was I started to say you were a hard sell, but you were typical. And I knew you were typical. That's what most people say. No, I don't. And
I mean, that's the way you were.
oh, absolutely. Because when you're a player, you're like, man, I hate refs. You guys suck.
But I think the other thing that helps is that you have a younger sister.
Yeah.
And so, and obviously, she played the game. And I think through her experience and you going and supporting her at games, it gives you an opportunity to watch from the sidelines. And, you know, when you know officials,
right.
it kind of makes things a little different. You're kind of looking at, especially when we're coming at you like, hey,
right.
you know, you could be out here.
Right.
Like, you know,
you forget, you know, officials even back then, officials are people too. You know what I mean?
No.
So, right. No, I'm saying, but like, that's crazy because like,
yeah.
you know, kids now or even just the casual fan, they look at refs like robots. Like they're not like real people.
And you thought of refs like that when you played.
I did.
You
honestly,
didn't respect them?
You think we just put a shirt on and a whistle and just go out there and just make up some calls, right?
Right. Yeah. No, not necessarily that, but it was
but
more.
As a kid, though,
Yeah.
as a kid, and sometimes as a fan, as our fans, you know, they think, you know, we don't go to training, we don't look in the rule book, like we just step out on the court and just we'll just make it up as we go along.
Right. And then the way you talk to them, you know, your tone, manners, like having manners with them, like respecting them as people first, you know,
Yes.
as a person
That
before
means
they
respecting the officials is what he's talking about.
Right.
Here.
Respect the game, respect the officials because they're people before they put the stripes on, you know.
You know, it's interesting because I don't know if I told you that when I was recruiting you, but when I usually talk to younger people I'm trying to recruit, I'll tell them, I say, when I'm on the court, I'm a dad first. I'm an adult second, and I'm a mentor or a ref third. And people look at me strange. I say, look, when I'm on the court, I'm old school. You know I'm old school.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
You disrespect me, I'm going to look at you like your daddy. Look, boy, what is wrong with you? And then I'm going to go at you, coming at you like an adult. You know what you better do. And then I'm going to come at you like a ref and tech you, what have you. I was talking to somebody recently, and I think that approach surprises a lot of people. But I think that takes it back to what you said, we're human. But a lot of people really don't view officials. I think they don't view us as human because they never really get to know anything about what we do and how we do it. They don't realize that we sit around and study the rules, that we go to trainings, that we have meetings, that there's requirements. People don't realize that, and that's part of the reason we started the podcast, is to educate people on the fact that officials, this is a profession that works just like any other profession. But we're independent contractors, so we work for ourselves, and people don't know that we work for us. It's funny now that you say that. Most people never thought about anything to do with what an official does, thinks, anything.
No, because it's too much bias in sports. That's what comes with it. Naturally, is you know, usually when a person's sitting down watching a game, they for this player, they got their own agenda, they're a coach, they're a parent, so it comes with bias. Referees are supposed to be neutral, so it's like they look at you as just like something disposable, you know what I mean? They don't see all the time that you put into it, or
and they don't care because all they want. It's strange, but for the first time in my career, talking to you, I realized how the mentality of I'm going back to when I played, and if a referee makes what I think is a bad call, then obviously they're a terrible referee. If I foul somebody,
they're cheating you.
Yeah. If I foul somebody, but I didn't foul him very hard, or he shouldn't have blown it, you're a terrible ref. And if he calls a foul for me, he's a great ref.
Yeah. I honestly think this is what I boil it down to. I think people's reactions to referees all come down to their personal accountability. What I mean by that is if a player says something to a referee and he said he's outlandish, whatever, he doesn't have any accountability from his coach. Because going back to ranking, if we said something to a ref at 14, 15, it's over with. You not playing. You might not even come to practice the next day. He might suspend you for a week because that's how he ran it. You know, he may say something because he has that authority to do that.
He's an adult.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It goes back to that. Parents the same way. They might yell all these obscenities out because they don't have any accountability.
Right.
They don't care one way or another. They'll take their kid and go to a different team and abuse that next ref. You know what I mean? So like a coach at maybe a D1 program or any college or high school even, if they get teched or thrown out of a game, they might have to have a meeting with athletic director or, you know what I mean? If you're not held accountable, then you're not going to act a certain way. You're not going.
And I think you're right. That's a big thing right now is that that the fans are not being held accountable.
That's what it is. That's what it comes down to.
You know, they're allowing these fans to come into gyms, into arenas, into, you know, facilities, and they're, you know, there's not enough security. There's not enough, like you said, not enough accountability. They're coming in, they're saying, well, there's no way we can monitor who comes into our facility.
Yes, you can.
Well, you might want to figure it out because this is becoming a safety issue, you know, especially when it comes to these big summertime tournaments. It's a safety issue. And, you know, yes, there are new officials that want to get out there and they're like, hey, I just want to make some money. But there's veteran officials that are like, it's not worth it. Right. It's not worth my life to go out there and risk confrontation by somebody who has no accountability. You're going to allow them. We were doing a game not too long ago, and on the court next to us, there was a team who was in an altercation. My thought is that whole team should be done for the tournament. They should be done.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah.
But you know what? 2 games later, they're on our court because there's no accountability.
Right. Yeah.
They're allowing these teams, these kids, and these adults to act like this and continually letting them, oh, well, it's okay. You know, just don't act like that in this game.
Right. But, you know, it comes with different, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you got different governing bodies. You know, if you play at school, you play AAU, those are going to be ran totally different because these kids come from everywhere. When they play in AAU school, they got to go back to that school. You know, there's different teachers there, there's different administrators there. AAU, it's the coach, the director of that program, and it's like, you know, they go to a different tournament. And there's no track record basically. You know,
but you know, unfortunately, they got to figure it out.
Yeah, and the nature of the game too of sport is it's entertainment. But then it got to come with certain bounds of respect, though. Because I always say that when I ref, if you want me to respect you, you got to show respect, too. Like, you know what I mean? We come out there respectful, shake the coach's hands before the game. Then all of a sudden they down 10, 15 points, you know, so you're not that nice referee no more, you know. All
of a sudden you had something to do with that, right?
you the sixth man. You the sixth woman on the court. Like, now it's all about you against me or me against them or something. Now it's not, you're not neutral no more. Right, because they bias get into it.
So talk to us about how many different sports do you officiate now?
Just basketball. Just basketball. You're right, but I signed up, you know, through IHSA, getting my football books now, and I'm about to get my track ones too. I know a track official, and, you know, they travel all over and do stuff like that, and it's just a need in all the sports
Yes, sir.
for just officials, you know, just because you can't can't have an event without them. You know what I mean? People talk about that all the time. It's kind of a thankless position in a way, because it's kind of like in society we talk about like you can imagine how life would be without garbage men or something like that. Not to liken it to that, but, you know, it'll be real dirty out here, you know what I'm saying? But nobody, when they're not doing their job right, everybody notices. Everybody notices, right? So if you had a game and there be no officials, then they'd really be complaining. So you got to respect what you have. I think people take officials for granted too.
Oh, absolutely.
That's the thing too. You just like, oh, you got to be here, so it's like I can say whatever because
Yeah.
Yeah, we really
So
don't.
Me paying $5 to get into a sporting event gives me the right to act any way I want to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You took the words out of my mouth.
So what would you say then to the shortage of officials? What do you think has contributed to that?
The shortage, I would say, that's a lot of layers to that. You know, everybody's different, but I would probably say the hostility as far as basketball goes, you know, because other sports, the fans aren't as close to the court, you know what I mean?
Right.
Basketball, they're right there. Their feet could be on the court. Football, you kind of far back. You behind the fence.
Yeah.
You're not really hearing the fans if you're a football official. Other than that, it's probably the pay or the conditions.
So you think the pay and the conditions contribute to why there's a shortage in the other sports you're looking at, such as football and track and field?
It could be. I could see where it could come in. I mean, football, as far as, you know, the elements, whatever, up here, you know, when I played, I didn't want to be out there in the cold. So I know they don't want to be out there.
Well, that's one of the reasons I don't do outdoor activities.
Mm-hmm.
Because we tried lacrosse a few years ago, and that season is ridiculous.
When is that? Is that
like
fall?
March.
That's in the spring.
It's March and
Yes.
April.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's still
can be snow.
Indiana's
and
thawing out
cold.
March
Mhm.
and April.
And it's
so.
not thawing out; it's still
It
frozen.
was definitely cold end of March. I
Yes.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, they had me out there, and they're talking about, and you know, lacrosse officials wear skirts. Not this one. I'm putting on sweats and layers. So
Yeah.
if you can find a skirt that fits under all that, hey, we're good.
Right.
So with all the sports that you're considering officiating, do you remember when you first started considering officiating and comparing that to how you feel about officiating now?
As far as all the different sports, or you mean?
Well, just your philosophy towards sports, because you said towards officiating, because you said when you first looked into it, I think you said that it wasn't, and you didn't think you wanted to be one. You thought, I wouldn't be interested in that. And now you're looking at going into a second and a third one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, because I see all the layers that come with it. You know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, because number one, it wasn't even that, I thought referees, you know, I didn't like them. It was like, could I be good at it, you know, or so to speak, or could I get better? Could I improve on it? And I think I have in basketball, and then I have an enjoyment already. I think you got to have an enjoyment for the sport that you're going to officiate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't like it at all, you're not going to put the time in to try to get better as an official.
We were talking to a young lady the other day, and we told her, we were like, well, you know, once you come on to the dark side, and you know, you get into it, you get, you know, training, and you start to get that itch. You're like, oh, I kind of like this. You ain't going back to coaching. you know, you're gonna be like, you know, hardcore officiating.
So that's what happened to her.
Yeah,
Really?
I mean,
She coached.
She was a coach?
Yeah, I had coached
2 different schools.
Basketball?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
3-ish. But yeah,
3 schools?
yeah.
Where at?
I had started out at Wayne.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, when Mike Smith was the coach out there.
What other secrets, the dirty little secrets you have for me on the air?
We don't have time for that.
We'll make
not,
time.
That's not what this show is about.
Well, you guys just have to be put on hold for a
So
second.
you got to do that another time.
But I got into officiating, and I was like, this coaching stuff.
Really?
Well,
I mean,
you know what,
coaching,
though?
you got to really love it. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to, you know,
Yeah. I'm
because
thinking
you
about
definitely
coaching
don't get
actually,
paid.
too. Yeah.
It's not worth the pay.
Right.
So, I mean, unless you go, you know, obviously the higher levels, but coaching at the high school level, middle school level, it's because you love the kids and you love the game.
You don't do it for money?
You do not do it for money because you're there the way it is now, you're there 6 days a week.
For
And
2, 3, 4 hours
yeah,
sometimes.
because you got to be there for the practice, which is usually at least an hour and a half long. So you got to be there before practice and then after practice, because you got to make sure everything is put away, cleaned up, and the kids are picked up, because we know how kids get left and forgotten about. And so
then your commute from home
your
to
commute,
there,
all that time that you
looking
spend
about-
away from your family.
looking at about 3, 4 hours.
And
sure.
so when our son was, you know, in high school, I was like, man, I'm going over here and I'm coaching these kids that, you know, they really don't want to be here, and they're just here because their friend is here. And so I'm like, why am I spending all this time over here and I'm missing my kids' games? I said, nope.
Yeah.
So that's when I got into officiating, because I could work my game schedule around his schedule.
See, that's what I liked about it too when I first started as well, is that you can make your own schedule as an official. You know, being an independent contractor, you could just, you know, if you want to do 10 games, you could do 10. If you want to do 3, you could do 3. Like, it was, to me, I like that part about it. You could decide what you wanted to do.
Well, and the other thing is you can also, move up as quickly as, as quickly as you want to. But, obviously there's training, there's steps, there's, you've got to be seen, you got to go to camps, get seen and stuff like that. So if you wanted to move up to the college level, you wanted to do men's college, you start going to camps, so there's those opportunities for growth in that aspect as well. Whereas for coaching, for me, I was like, I had no desire to coach at a college level, or really I didn't coach at the varsity level. So I like the JV or the freshman level,
right?
Getting them into the program and getting them acclimated. But but with officiating, you have those those next steps, like where do you want to go? And then, like you said, looking at football, you can pick up other sports. Right. So and then they added, so we do volleyball as well. So they added volleyball as a high school sport last year. So, and I love, the thing I love about that is it's in the spring. So now I've got a fall, I've got a winter, and now I've got a spring sport.
Right. Talking about boys volleyball.
Boys volleyball.
Boys.
Yes.
Oh,
now I want
right.
to challenge something you said earlier. You said that you think that you have to really love the sport to really get into it as an official, something like that.
Yeah.
I want to challenge that because I did not love volleyball.
Oh, no, he did not.
I did not. I was not interested in volleyball.
But I made him get his license in volleyball.
She strongly encouraged me. She didn't make me. She strongly encouraged me. Through consistent communication.
Right. So if you didn't love it, were you made to love it then?
What do you mean?
Like, you just love it you just learn to love the process of it. Like, volleyball can get kind of boring for some people.
That's what I thought,
That's
Wayne. But the rules have changed in volleyball. The rally scoring, that means if you lose a point, the other team gets a point. Remember,
no, if you don't lose the point.
If you lose the rally, whatever, the other team gets a point.
Yep.
Right.
But it used to be that you had to serve in order to score. Well, they changed that years ago. So now every
games will be forever then.
They were.
Yeah.
They were always. But back then it was 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the score was only to 21, I believe.
Right. So now it's to 25.
It's to 25.
And it's best out of 5 for high school varsity.
Yeah.
But it's every time you mess up, you lose a point.
Right.
Well, you don't lose it. You just don't get a point.
Well, I mean, the other team gets a point is what I meant. But and then the other thing they changed was the uniforms. So now more guys are attracted to come to watch the sports because the girls are wearing tight-fitting uniforms. People, they look at me strange. I say, well, that's part of the reason they changed that, is to take the revenue up, get more people to come. But the other thing about that, what I love
they also added a special defense player, so that's called the libero.
Yeah.
And she wears a different color uniform from the rest of her teammates, and so that adds a flair to the game. She can go in. She can only play in the back row, but she can go in during a dead ball for anybody in the back row. She can play, those 3 back row spots. Go out, have that person that she went in for come back in. Next dead ball, she can go right back in the back row.
Wow.
And so that doesn't count against the team because the team only gets 18 subs for the whole set.
Okay.
And so as a libero, you can just it's called a libero replacement. So it's a libero replacement zone. And so she goes in the back row, and then it does not count as a substitution.
Right. I used to think like that meant you was the best player on the team or something. When I wasn't when I was like a casual, I didn't know anything at all about volleyball. I thought that meant you was like
they're supposed to be a defensive specialist.
Yeah, they are usually in the position where they think the ball is going to be coming like
with the most power.
With the most power.
And they're supposed to be the ones to retrieve it. But looking back, I did not love volleyball. I didn't even want to do it.
Really?
But I did it, and I came into really loving it, but for different reasons. I like the game, and we do college level too for line judging, so the game moves a lot faster. But what I like most about it is the players. I get to interact with the players and have some fun with them, and so I've learned to appreciate the game. But I did not.
I think when it comes to officiating, granted, well, I've done baseball, so I've done some umpiring at the little league level and all throughout these years basketball. But I think it's like a checklist you go through in your mind, like as far as what you like and don't like about a sport when it comes to officiating. Because
Absolutely.
the interaction with the players,
Yes.
you know, that could be said in, you know, basketball, volleyball, track, you don't really interact like that. Football, a little bit if there's a team captain on a penalty call. The conditions, football is going to be the worst. I'm telling you, like,
soccer.
Weather-wise.
Soccer.
Lacrosse, I'm telling you.
Lacrosse. But, okay, you can put lacrosse in there, but football, the only thing about that is it's not the threat of getting hit. Like, I've hit some refs on accident because of, like, how the play unfolded and stuff like that, and they not wearing pads like that, you know? Some of them
Tell
don't.
the truth. Did you ever hit one on purpose?
No.
Tell the truth.
Too
Did you ever hit
scared.
one on purpose?
Never in my life. Never in my life. I wanted to.
But
I wanted to.
did you know some players that did on purpose?
Hit a ref on purpose?
Yeah.
No.
Because there's a way you can get away with. I mean, you running at the ref, he's in the way, you just run over him.
I mean,
and you help him up.
It would be so
With a smirk.
I don't know how you would do it because it's like you would be out of the play if you did it on purpose and it's not the natural flow.
Right.
They could tell if you like made a beeline to the,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, in football. Because I remember I hit a ref right square in the dead of his back because this player like cut back and I turned and my face mask was in this ref's back.
Wow. Did you hurt him?
Yeah, and he like they had to like stop the game for a little bit, but it was like we were checking on him because it was just like
was this high school or college?
High school against Harding. I remember.
I say if it was college, you really probably could have put a hurt on him because y'all much stronger.
Way
in college.
stronger, way faster game. But yeah, that was high school against Harding. I remember that.
Wow. But he turned out to be okay.
Yeah, he was okay. Yeah, he wasn't hurt that bad. But I'm saying all that to say like that's why basketball to me is the most appealing sport because it's like it checks more boxes than those other ones that we might talk about, you know. You know, you might get bored in another sport, whereas basketball, it's constant flow, constant motion. There's so many combinations of how plays can play out.
There could be some boring games now.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain age level for sure.
And there's a lot of rules in basketball.
Yeah.
But the thing, I was just going to say that too, it's way more rules in football than there is in basketball.
Oh, you
really
think so?
Absolutely. It's certain ways you can't even line up certain ways in football. I mean, you have to have 7 people on the line of scrimmage. Right. So, like, you have to count every time. If they only have 6, that's a legal formation. That's a penalty, 10 yards. Yeah, or 5 yards probably at certain levels, you know. Holding. It's holding on every play, though.
Right.
Clipping, face mask, illegal formation, unsportsmanlike conduct. These are just, that could happen on any given play. You know what I'm saying? Offsides, false start.
We talk about that in basketball, though. I mean, on every single play, every time down the court, we could call a foul. Every time because there's illegal contact.
Always illegal contact.
There's always illegal contact. Right. It's a contact sport.
Which gets back to being an official judgment calls because even amid the rules, we already all three of us know there's always judgment in every set of rules.
It is, yeah. There are some subjective rules in football. You know, objective ones will be, you know, an incomplete pass or something like that, or offsides. Everybody knows what that is. But pass interference, was it pass interference? Holding, was it holding?
Depends on your angle.
Late
Depends
hit
on you.
Late hit. I got called for a late hit call in high school. I remember the hit started in bounds, but he was going out of bounds. You know, you could tell he was slowing down, but the hit started in bounds. They called a late hit. That's all up to the refs. You know, it's a subjective call.
And the rules in football have changed to the point that they're now protecting more of the offensive players, especially the receivers and the quarterback. Am I right?
I mean, at the pro level, for
but
sure.
it hasn't trickled down yet.
You know, I feel like the pro sports and whatever sport you're talking about, they set the precedent. You know what I mean? So, you know, people come to see the quarterback. They come to see flash, deep passes, all of that. So they're going to protect, you know, the moneymaker, so to speak. Yeah.
So how high have you gone in basketball? Since that's the only sport you've officiated so far, how high have you gone in terms of level of achievement?
Just high school varsity so far. Yeah, I want to go to college.
So this has been, you're in your third year, or you're going into your fourth year?
I've just started my third year.
You just started?
Yeah.
And you did varsities already?
Yeah.
Wow. Whoa. Because I think when you came to the class, we always tell you guys it takes approximately 3 years to get to varsity. So when did you get your first varsity game? In your second year or your first year?
Second year. First year, I was still doing like middle school kids and stuff like that. When I say high school, though, I've only done that at the AAU, not at a school.
Oh, okay.
Right now,
Okay.
yeah, just
Okay.
high school. But I've done like 17 U's and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I haven't been at a
So
school
you
yet.
haven't done a 3-person
At
high
a school. No, I haven't.
Are you
Not yet.
familiar with 3-person officiating?
Yes, I am. I
What-
like it way better.
Why?
Yeah, you don't have to run as much.
I don't know. I
I
kind of feel
don't
like I
know.
run more when it comes to
Ah,
3-person.
yeah,
I
so.
don't think you do.
I think you do.
You gotta get the baseline so quick. Like when you the C, if you're the C in a 3-man, like that, like takes
Yeah.
back all the you.
Free throw line to free throw line is the shortest run.
Literally, you could
But
just
it's,
try.
it's really not, because baseline to half court is about the same as C to C, isn't it?
About
It's
yeah.
about the same measurement.
Maybe it
Yeah.
just
But it
doesn't
just
feel like
it
that
doesn't
because of
feel
because of
like
the
it.
angles.
I
Like
think-
Yeah.
And then the thing with 3-person is you've got to have communication with your partners.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
if you don't and you miss the rotation, you throw everything.
The whole
off.
team,
Right.
but nobody notices, because again,
Most
like
of the time, nobody notices.
Yeah. Unless
Every
there's
now and
unless
then.
there's an official in the crowd, like sometimes.
nobody.
Right.
Yeah, most
Yeah.
people don't notice because they're
unless
not watching the
unless
officials.
as an
Yeah.
unless something happens on the baseline and you look and there's literally
Yeah.
2 officials on the
Do you-
baseline.
But
and then
again,
do you-
we've done that
Do
before.
you guys ever like when you doing a game and like afterwards, it might have been a real intense game, could have been down to the wire. Do you grade yourself like on the ride home? Like I'm riding home some days, I'm like, man, that was like a B- game. Like I could have did better. I'm
Oh,
like, I
absolutely.
missed that call, or I was out of position for this one. Like, and it might be 3-4 calls during that game. I'm like, that's not a good game for me.
You
'cause
know,
do you
I
go back
don't.
and watch your games?
at times I do. Sometimes, yeah.
You know,
Because
I don't grade myself. You said you do. I don't.
I don't give myself a grade, but I do go back and I think about certain plays or I think about certain calls that I made and could I have not made that call, or how would it have played out if I had let this play go through?
Right.
I'm trying to think of, I've been doing.
We talk about stuff all, especially when we work together, we talk.
But I'm trying to think. I've been doing almost 30 years. Do I do that? Unless she brings it up, I really don't think that much about it. And I think overall, what I come to the conclusion of is, did I feel good about doing that game, or did I not feel good about my participation?
So that you're grading it. It's just
But as
But
far
I-
as individual plays,
It's
I
not
don't.
even sometimes like all the officiating parts of it too. It's based like my interactions with players and
Exactly.
coaches. Like I
Everything all rolled
I
together.
grade all of
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
it takes more to be an official than just knowing the rules. You got to have like people skills
Yep.
because
you got to
you
know how
know,
to communicate.
yeah,
You
I've
don't-
seen sometimes like certain refs that I've ref with. They may have been more experienced than me, but sometimes the way you come across to players or coaches, that can inflame a situation.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know that sometimes. And sometimes it is on us a little bit because it's like the way you answer them makes them more snappy, and then
Yeah.
they get to
Yep.
being more feisty during the game. And it's
Yeah.
like you could have diffused the whole situation had you just
Yep.
learn how to talk to,
Yep.
because I talk to coaches like they ask a question, I'm all for that. But I don't talk to the fans. Like all them
no.
people in the front row, they not getting none out of me. I don't want to, no explanations. Oh, ref, why you call? I'm not listening to you.
What did you call? What was that?
Coaches and players, them the only people I talk to while I'm reffing. I might joke. If I know a person in the crowd, I might make a little
Right.
little
Right. I
banter.
had we were doing a game a few weeks ago, and I had a lady kept saying, "Ref, Miss Ref, Miss Ref."
Mm-hmm.
I would not turn around because, right before then, I heard a lady in the stands that was, making some comments
Mm-hmm.
that, were not favorable, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to turn around because what could she possibly have to ask me or, whatever. And so I just ignored it.
Mm-hmm.
So got over, it was halftime, and go over to the score table and standing there, and I was working with my daughter, so I was talking to her for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look over where that lady was sitting. Well, it wasn't the lady sitting, and there was a lady standing next to her that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went back over, and I was like, "Man, when you over there yelling my, yeah." She goes, "Yeah, you ignoring me." So there are people that yeah, if I know you, I'll come and talk to you.
Right,
And she didn't
absolutely.
want anything. She was
Yeah.
just saying hi. So
Oh,
And when I listen to you talk, you're talking mainly about the AAUs and the stuff that goes on in the off ball.
correct.
School ball, when you talk about interacting with the crowd, I do and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my interaction with the crowd, again, is going to be with people I know. Like if I go to a Black Hawk Christian or if I go to Concordia, well, I know a lot of people associated with those schools. And I walk in and I'm standing there waiting for the game to start, and I'll hear people behind me, Crane. I'll turn around and what's up? And they'll be like, man, you better call a good game.
Always do.
How much you paying me?
Right.
And the whole crowd will start laughing, and I put my hand back there like, fill it up. You know, we'll play around like that. But when the game starts, I'm all business.
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned from some other veteran officials too. Number one, smile a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I smile a lot, and I like to smile anyway. So I smile a lot. That helps the players, it helps the coaches, and it helps the fans. Like you said when we started the show, it helps to show that we're human.
Yep, absolutely. I go help players up; they get fouled.
Yeah,
you know, all of that.
That.
That's cool. Well, she's small, but she's smaller frame being female too. That's a factor.
No, you ain't supposed to be touching players.
Well,
For real? You don't do that?
Nope.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Well, you know, 'cause we're not. She's bringing up a good point. We're not supposed to. In our manual, it says you don't interact that way because of liability.
Yep.
But
the basketball officials, because football officials do it all the time. Players get tackled right by them, they helping them up. I guarantee you. Every official that do football, you can ask them.
And the thing is, when you do things that go outside the parameters of what we're not supposed to do, that again sends the message that we're personal, personal, we're human.
Right.
You know, when I think about like doing a game, a really intense game, the one games I hate, and you may agree with this, I hate the games where you'll have a all black team versus an all white team.
Mm-hmm.
I hate those kind of games.
Right.
How do you feel about those?
That made me a difference, really. I probably I relate to the black coaches probably better because they speak the same language.
I don't.
Oh yeah.
Because
I don't like fraternize to where I'm gonna give you every call. Like I had a coach like that. Matter of fact, this was not too long ago. All black team from Chicago, right outside of Chicago. Team from Ohio, it's an all white team. This coach thinking like, I'm talking to him while they're warming up a little bit. We laughing, talking, figuring that we know some of the same people because of guys I went to college with. Everything going well. His star player had 4 fouls in the first half. I'm not about to throw the game or call a game a different way just because I have that relationship with you. I'm going to stay true to the game. Mm-hmm. Will I be sportsmanlike and show you the respect? Absolutely. But I'm not about to make calls for you. Like, there's no type of intimidation with me. Like,
one thing I got to challenge you on. I'm gonna see if you remember this from the class, RTS class.
Okay.
If you're fraternizing with one coach and you spend 10 minutes over there, what happens in the game?
The other coach thinks that you're more favorable.
So how do you combat that?
How do I combat that?
How are we supposed to combat that?
You should go and be as open with the other coaches as well. Yeah.
So when you say you were fraternizing with the one coach, did you spend the same amount of time over there with the whole Ohio coach?
Not prior to the game, though.
That can be a herder. Yeah. That can hurt us. Yeah. I've learned that in my years. I make sure, and I thought I taught it. Apparently I didn't. But I always tell people, if you see me over here yucking it up with this coach, you're going to see me down there yucking it up with that coach the exact amount of time. I've learned to do that because people are watching everything we do before the games. And it's strange because people don't really pay attention to the official until you do something that makes them think you're cheating. So I make sure.
And with all the cameras and all the phones and everything being on Facebook and whatever, you've just got to make sure that you're always protecting yourself, always
showing no bias,
no favoritism.
Diplomatic. I think that refereeing kind of makes you a little bit of a psychologist a little bit because you start to learn what make people tick. And just and you can see grown men or women act like children. You know what I mean?
Like, 1 minute they love you, and if they're down, their team is down 15 or 20 points, all of a sudden, all bets are off.
I saw it happen in real time one time. You know how it's AAU, you could ref one game and then 2 games later, same team may be on your court.
Right.
That literally happened to me. First game I was reffing, team won by 20, 30. Coach shaking my hand.
Good.
He was dapping me up. Hey, man, good day, man. Good brother, man. Good to see you. And 2 games later, team came.
You were the worst official ever.
Team came to play. They down 12 now, quick. 12, like 16-4, quick. He don't want nothing to do with me now, I'm just like, and I didn't take it personal because I know what comes with the sport, but it just shows you like people are different in different circumstances.
It shows you people's character.
Right.
And, that's one thing that she's picked up on. She goes, that coach over there, they're acting this way, but watch how they act when they lose. And then you watch. Now, we kind of judge.
We have parents that will come up to us, oh my gosh, that was such a great game, da-da-da. Yeah, would you be saying that if you lost?
Yeah. I take it better from people who have lost the game to come up and tell me it's a good game.
Yeah.
I take that as a higher compliment than the people who won, because the people who won, they're in happy spirits, and of course it was a great game. We won.
Right.
If they lost, I want to see if you act like that when you lost.
Okay, so then I ask y'all this: then do you take like compliments with a grain of salt, just like you take criticism? Then, like, you know what I'm saying?
Usually.
Like from a fan, I'm saying, like not from somebody who know what they're doing. Like from you two, like if I reffed a game and you two both came up to me, I'd be like, okay, I'm listening because I'm invested. You guys know what you're talking about. But from a casual fan, some mom, some uncle or something, I'm like,
that comes up and says,
it
hey, you did a
depends.
great job.
It depends. Again, whether from the winning team or the losing team. If they're from the losing team,
I take it more.
I take
sincere.
it. Yeah, because and I've
if they're
had
from the losing team.
And I've had teams that have come up to me and said that they've lost, and they come up and say, I just want you to know, we didn't win this, but that was a very well officiated game. You guys kept control. You made sure that the players were safe. I really respect that. Thank you. And I take that as a high compliment because they lost, and they're lost, and they're done, and they don't have another game to try to get me to butter me up for. Right. They're leaving, and they're going back to Wisconsin or wherever they're from. Yeah, those I take as high compliment games.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. On the flip side of that,
right.
do you take criticism from then a winning team, like, and that's sincere as well, because that's the same kind of
criticism from a winning team.
I've had coaches still yelling their team's up 25. And they say, man, what was that? They up 25-30. But in my mind, I'm like, maybe that's just him. They stay intense throughout the game.
It depends. For me, it depends on what they're criticizing, because I've had some coaches who are up, but the veteran coaches who are up, most of them, they're winning. Most of them are high school coaches as well, or they've been doing AAU so long that they have the vested, in my mind, vested expertise of a high school coach. They understand the culture of the sport, and they understand that their assistants, for instance, shouldn't be talking to us. The assistant is there to assist them. They understand that there's certain things they can say and certain things they shouldn't say that are tech worthy, and they don't cross that line. So if they're up and they're yelling something, they're probably doing it. Those kind of coaches are doing it because they're still coaching their kids.
Well, I think I know kind of what he's saying. Like, for instance, we did a game this summer, and we had a coach. It was girls' high school summer ball, and we had a coach. Their team was up, like you said, 25. And, when you're up that high, you got a running clock. Are we as tight on calling certain things? Right. We probably do let up a little bit, because me calling a foul against the defense it's not going to benefit anybody because you're already up by 25 points. We're trying to get, we're trying to, now if you've got a player that's going after somebody, obviously you're going to call something. But, if it was just a little bit of a foul, well, that's the same call down here. Why aren't you calling that? I'm looking at him like, really? Yeah. You're up by 25.
Definitely. It's all about discretion.
And I'm like, that little bitty foul that you think was a foul, and I'm looking at it thinking, first of all, it wasn't the same activity that happened down here.
Yeah. And you learn to gauge it, too, because, different age levels, certain point spreads are way higher. Like 10 points in fourth grade is like 30 points in high school. Right. You know what I mean? Because they're not scoring that frequent. 10 points in high school is like, that could be turned around. They could be up
threes.
8. And they up 8.
Yeah.
I think what you guys are talking about is game management.
Game management.
Game management is something that comes, I think, personally, it comes with more reps, with more games, with more experience. I've learned game management a lot more solidly over the last 10 to 12 years.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that you grow into, as you continually ref, things get better. You grow, and that's the same thing we were talking about on the show, I think last time, was just as coaches mature, we're also maturing, in our profession. So
you learn how to see game after game, play after play, and then you learn to see how coaches handle this and how refs who were doing them handle that, and then you learn different rules, different tricks of the trade. Like, I remember I went back to my college alumni game, and after the game, I think we were there, and after the game I was watching the officials do the actual game that played after the alumni did. And I remember this older official, he came down court, and the home coach was yelling something at him. The game had kind of just started, and the coach, the ref, the lead official, they kept looking, and finally I think they called a tech on one of the home players, my school's player, and the 3 officials were walking down the court, and I remember the coach was walking out on the court saying something to him, and he was yelling, and this coach said something this ref said something I'll never forget. He looked at him, he says, "Coach," and the coach said, "What?" He goes, "If you're going to be talking to us like that tonight, you better make sure you're in that coach's box." And the coach was like, and he backed up and got into the coach's box, stood there and glared at him. And I was like, that was smooth. That was powerful, because he just sent us, he didn't have to tech him. He just sent a message. If you're going to be yelling at us like that, if you're going to be talking at us like that again or tonight, you better make sure you're in your coach's box. It's like, wow, that's powerful, because that sends a message. Coach, I'm not going to give you what you deserve, which is a penalty, but I'm going to give you a warning that everybody in the gym hears, and we just let you know, if you're going to be acting like that tonight, make sure you're always within that coaching box, and if you're not, now we got a right to penalize you. I love that. That was huge.
Definitely. You know.
And we've learned other things too, like another coach taught us, another referee taught me something, and I'll give you this one for free. You can have this one.
Okay. All right.
No, this is good. This is good. And a lot of coaches, we've said this too in the pregame. You know, in the 3-person, we're going up to them. If I'm the R, I'll go, "All right, coaches, everybody legally and properly equipped," all that good and good stuff. And I say, "All right, coaches, just let you know we're going to work hard for you tonight. And just let you know we are approachable, but we're not coachable." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's good." And that sends a subliminal message.
Oh, I've got a better one.
Oh, yeah, I know which one you're going to say. This
All
is
right.
good. This is a juicy one.
So, coaches, you know, after we get through all that other preliminary stuff, you know, I want you to know that we're very aware that, you know, you've got a wealth of knowledge sitting over there on your bench. Can you make sure that they share that with you and not with us?
Talking about the assistant coaches.
Right.
and the kids on the bench.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
it's
true.
not just the assistants, because the kids on the bench think they have a right to stand up and say something too, and we're like, just, you know, make sure they share that with you and not with us, because
So
the only one
subliminally.
I'm letting them know the only ones we want to hear from are the head coach.
So it's a subliminal that's a game management tool. Those are game management tools, which sends messages to the coaches of what we are, and I think it helps them. It lets them know, okay, these are parameters we're officiating from tonight.
Right.
So just going on a little bit further, because we're going to shut. I think we only got a couple minutes left. I want to ask you, as far as the officiating shortage, and you came through RTS. So what do you think we as RTS can do more effectively? Or what do you think we can change to help bring more quality officials to the sports?
That's a good question. I think that probably targeting, like, you know, former athletes, if you know them,
like yourself,
like myself, right? Somebody who can get back into a sport that they love to do or did growing up. You know, that's a good one.
And
I don't know.
How old are you right now?
I'm 29.
So 29. So you got in when you were about 26?
Yeah, 26 for the second time. Yeah. So when I originally started with Crane, I was about 19 or 20. That's when I first started. When you first had me. When you remember when you first had me in that class at Sport 1? We used to be at Sport 1. It was like Levi Mitchell.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Because the first game, he threw me to the Wolves. I'll tell people that on the air. First game, my first game I ever refereed, ever. I had a P whistle. That's how long ago that I didn't even have a Fox 40.
Now, was this my fault that you had a P whistle?
No, that was not your fault. I think she actually gave me my first Fox 40. My first
so
one.
how was I at fault? Innocent me. How was I at
you
fault?
threw me to the Wolves because I had no court experience.
Okay.
I had to do an exhibition high school boys all-star game. They were doing like a scrimmage. Like
where was this at?
This was at Sport 1. So they were running they were practicing. That. It was like Malik Williams. These are guys who was going D1.
Those are your peers. I do remember that.
And I'm only a year, 2 years older than some of these guys. You know, Justin Mitchell. These guys the same age.
Who was your partner?
You.
Oh yeah, I didn't have anybody else.
That's what it was. It was.
Where was I?
It was.
You were ignoring me.
It was like a random, they did a scrimmage. It was like 2 15-minute halves or something like that.
So it wasn't a real game.
It wasn't a real game. But the two things that made it challenge, well, 3 things. It was one that they were my peers, so that was the challenging part.
That's rough. That's tough.
Number 2, the speed of the game.
Yes.
So it's one about having on court.
You were 19.
No, but he's talking about from an officiating standpoint.
No, from like the foul call, they playing above the rim. They throwing alley-oops, lobs. And then number 3, it's a scrimmage. They don't even have matching jerseys on. So the ball's going out. It's 50-50 calls. I'm like, gray, red, blue, black. Like, it's 5 different colored shirts out here. And I'm like, now I got to remember who's on whose team because I know these guys.
Now I got to ask you a critical question here. Did you get paid for it?
Probably not.
I did not get paid.
Oh, well, then you get screwed.
You probably didn't get paid either.
Nah.
I probably got paid.
It was one of those, like, you was like, you want the experience? You know what I mean? I said yes. I just took a leap. Like, I was just like, yeah.
Well, how was that my fault? I asked you, and you said yes.
Yeah, but it was just like then.
It was but he didn't throw you totally to the wolves because he was
I was there
partner.
with you.
So
he was my
there.
partner.
So from as far as you can remember, did having a veteran on the court with you and you felt like thrown to the wolves, did I help you in certain calls? I mean, was this
absolutely
okay?
Yeah.
So I didn't completely throw you to the wolves.
No. He probably had to make like 80% of the calls. I remember maybe 90.
You were more like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I was a trail. I'm standing like past half court, like being the trail. Like it was just, it was all bad. When I look at it, I'm leaning in the calls, like trying to. It was bad, you know.
So you came to officiating. That was the first time, and then when did you actually take the class?
Well, then you went to school.
Oh,
because that's why you kind of
and then
so you took the class then you had taken the class.
My first time ever getting my license was with you,
and that was that game you just described.
Around that time. Okay. Yep, and then I let it lapse because I was in Ohio for a school,
That's
and then I came back to do umpiring in the summers, and then I just got my license back again in 2020.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the dark side.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what things did you learn, or what was some things that you kind of took away from coming through referee training school?
Things I took away from it are, if you're going to be an official, you kind of got to do the self-work before you step out there, because you have to study. You have to learn, game management, even from little kids on, because, it's at your discretion. You kind of the supervisor when you're out there. And then you also have to learn how to work well with other people, because when you're an official, you're on a team. Even if you may not like that person personally or something like that, you still on the same team.
Yep.
All officials love each other. We don't have that issue.
Yeah, right. For the air.
So without mentioning names, are there some officials out there that you work with that you rather not work with again?
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't want to. It's just some I like better than others, So I'm cool with all officials because they all have their different styles, which is crazy. It's crazy because like officiating is looked at as like a black and white thing, and it's kind of like it's concrete, it's objective, but it's also subjective. It's
a lot of gray.
Yeah, so a lot of officials got their different styles how they officiate.
So what has been one thing you say that has been one of the most valuable lessons you learned from working with any official? Something stands out to you.
Man, that's a deep one. There's so many people.
Name just one thing that you've learned from it. You can mention their name if you want. Something you've learned that's been really, really valuable.
Just to stand on your calls, no matter what you call. Like, what I mean? Don't let anybody like scare you out of your call. You can like go back and evaluate for yourself and see what you could have learned from that situation. But call what you're gonna call and be confident in that.
Who taught you that? You remember the official that you learned that from?
Well, you and then a couple other veteran officials say some of those same things. It's crazy. Y'all turn into the same person after you've been reffing a long time.
Right.
That's a good thing. That means we have consistency in our teaching.
People want consistency. We're consistent.
Yep. So
where to from here? We're getting ready to log off, but where to from here in terms of officiating for you?
I want to go up to college if I can.
Men's or women's?
Either one.
Nope. Gotta choose.
Pick one.
Men.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seriously, on the college level, you have to choose. They make you cannot.
They have different mechanics, different
uniforms. You have to pick.
They got the 5-second count in women's, right? Still, is that still
held ball only?
Held ball only.
Yep.
Okay. See, I know they don't have that in men, do they? Right. See, stuff
and
like that.
And the shot clock time frame is different.
It's different, and reset is different on certain
I
situations.
think the 3-point line. I think that
3-point line is the same.
But it used to be different. You go into some courts, you'll see three different lines.
Yeah.
One for the high school, one for the women's, one for the men's.
But women's and men's are both the same now. It's the outer
Did they have to move that, or they just went with the outer one?
They went with the men's.
Okay.
The outer one, Women are more skilled. Like, there's girls right now that are They doing it, man.
And that's one reason I like doing women's versus men. The women's are much more, they're much more disciplined and skilled.
Oh, absolutely.
Men are so sloppy, and a lot
It's
of
all
reps
about above the rim
and speed,
throwing
That's all
up
it's
threes.
about. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So because they emulate the NBA, and some people like watching the NBA. I don't necessarily get into watching the NBA because it's not to me it's not as skilled of a game as high school
all right.
or college. I know we disagree on that.
Yeah, definitely. They pro for a reason, man. That's what I say.
Well, the rules are completely different too.
Yeah.
Because in pro they get that gathering step.
They get a lot of things that
they let them step across the free throw line, which drives her crazy. On a free throw, they can step across the line. High school, you can't
pay
do.
millions of dollars, and you can't stand behind a free throw.
And that makes sense. The way she puts them, like that does make sense.
But I got to penalize a third grader for stepping over the line. Okay.
It's different, yeah.
But
it's a good point.
It's entertainment.
Think
right. That's what all sport was built off of.
Right. Well, we're going to have to sign off, we appreciate you coming out, Mr. Wayne. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
For those of you that are interested, go to reftrainingschool.com and check out our next class coming up in October for basketball training, and also our Hoosier 3on3.com for our upcoming Back to School League.
And that'll be held in Harlan, September for the first 4 Fridays of September.
Starting September 8th. And then
the first 4 Fridays.
It's not, because September 1st is the first Friday.
Oh, you're right. The last 4 Fridays. Good catch. So the last 4 Fridays in September will be the Back to School League.
Who was that for?
3-on-3 league.
I'm saying, is that for
that is
adult?
for 3rd grade through 12th.
3rd through 12.
So it'll be different divisions.
I see.
Boys
third
and
through
girls.
12. Yeah, boys and girls. So
got you.
Looking forward to that. So
we don't like adults. No, I'm kidding.
So with that, we'll sign off, and again, we'll say thank you to Mr. Wayne Kelly Jr.
The second.
The second.
Either one.
We'll see you in the court.
Yeah.
We'll see you in the court, and we're not going to see you in the field because we won't be out there.
No, I will not be out there.
Probably me either, maybe.
Right.
We'll see.
Thanks again. Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thanks again for listening to Ref Time, powered by reftrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media. Ref Time is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit reftrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.